When Adam first saw Erica, he knew. She had to belong to him. And now she sat in the basement, a collar around her neck, dreaming of freedom, while he went down to gaze upon his treasure. Adam was one of the most influential and wealthy men in the city. His name was on everyone's lips, from businessmen to politicians, and immense power rested in his hands. He was certain he could buy anything and anyone. People feared him, went out of their way to please him, and no one dared to contradict him. Yet deep within, Adam felt an emptiness. Money and power no longer brought him any satisfaction. One day, during a business trip to a remote area, Adam noticed a woman who immediately caught his attention. Her name was Erica. Tall, slender, and full of life, she was nothing like the women he was accustomed to seeing. Her eyes sparkled with boldness and courage, and her movements radiated confidence. Unlike those who bowed their heads or fawned over him, Erica paid him no attention whatsoever. Adam couldn't understand why this woman stirred such intense interest in him. He wanted to possess her, but not in the way he desired other women. Erica was more than just a beautiful object to him. Her independence and freedom felt like a challenge, igniting in him a need to conquer. He wanted to break her, to make her submit, to prove to himself that he could subdue even someone as strong as her. Adam began to follow her. He found out that Erica was well known in her community for her bold actions. She led local initiatives, fought for rights, and wasn't afraid to speak the truth. She was a true rebel, the very type that rarely survives long in the shadows casts. At first, Adam tried to capture her attention with money and gifts. He sent her expensive jewelry, luxurious clothes, and even offered assistance to her neighborhood to improve living conditions. But Erica rejected each gift, returning them without a hint of gratitude or interest. Adam was used to money opening any door, yet with Erica, things were different. "You can't buy me," she told him one day as he approached her on the street, flanked by his bodyguards. Her voice was firm, calm, and fearless. Adam was stunned. He looked at her with a mix of surprise and irritation. He wasn't accustomed to anyone speaking to him in such a tone. Normally, when people saw him, they rushed to please him, their eyes gleaming with either fear or greed. But not Erica. She looked at him as if he were just any other man, giving no indication that she stood before someone wielding immense power. "Don't you understand who I am?" he replied, narrowing his eyes. "I can give you everything you've ever dreamed of, but I can also take away everything you have." Erica smirked, her gaze steady. She showed neither fear nor hostility, only a cold indifference that fueled Adam's obsession even more. "You can only offer me emptiness," she said, turning away. "Everything I need, I already have, and that's something no one can take from me." Adam clenched his fists. It was a new feeling for him. Anger mixed with a sense of helplessness. He was used to controlling everything and everyone. He could buy anything, anyone, but Erica was different. She was something he couldn't understand, something he couldn't possess. And it drove him mad. Night after night, her words replayed in his mind. He couldn't believe that a simple woman from a poor neighborhood could so dismissively reject his offer. His pride was wounded. Deep down, Adam knew it wasn't just that he wanted Erica. He needed to prove to himself that his power was absolute. Her resistance was an insult he couldn't tolerate. The more Erica refused him, the stronger his desire to break her became. He began to plan each step, each move meticulously. He needed her to be his. But now it was no longer for pleasure. It had turned into an obsession. Adam couldn't bear the thought that Erica was immune to his influence. Every time she looked at him with those defiant eyes, every rejection made him feel weak. This was unfamiliar and unacceptable for a man accustomed to getting whatever he wanted. He became obsessed with having her, no matter the cost. One day, Adam decided it was time to take a harder approach. He invited Erica to his home under a seemingly noble pretext. He said he wanted to discuss a new project to improve living conditions in her neighborhood. It sounded like a generous offer, and Erica, as someone who always cared about others, agreed to meet him. His decision to abduct Erica was born from a mix of desperation and madness. He had planned every detail, luring her to his home and then subduing her completely. When she agreed to meet, Adam felt his heart race with the anticipation of triumph. When Erica arrived at his luxurious mansion, an inexplicable sense of dread washed over her. The tall gates and imposing opulence surrounding her felt like a trap. But it was too late to retreat. Adam greeted her at the door with a welcoming smile and an inviting gesture. His home resembled a palace, with marble floors, gilded staircases, and enormous paintings adorning the walls. Yet this splendor could not mask the creeping terror that Erica felt deep within her being. "Come in, Erica," Adam said, his voice deceptively smooth. "I'm glad you agreed to come. I'm sure we can do a lot of good for the residents of your neighborhood." As they entered the spacious hall, Adam abruptly closed the door behind her, and the sound of the locking mechanism pierced the silence. In that moment, Erica realized she had walked into a trap. She turned to look back, but it was too late. "I'm tired of your refusals, Erica," he said, his voice no longer polite. It carried a menacing tone. "You think you can live by your own rules, but you're mistaken. Today, you'll understand who the master is here." Erica took a step back, but Adam was quicker. He grabbed her wrist with a force that made her vision blur. Her body tensed as she tried to break free, but his grip was unyielding. He dragged her down the staircase that led to the basement. "You won't laugh at me anymore," he hissed, pulling her down the cold steps. "You'll understand what it means to be submissive." When they reached the basement, a horrifying sight met Erica's eyes. In the corner stood an actual doghouse. It was large but grim, covered in rust and dust, with a long iron chain attached to a collar on the floor. It was a true symbol of slavery and humiliation. "Go in," Adam ordered, throwing her toward the doghouse. Erica stumbled and fell to her knees. She straightened up and looked at him defiantly. Even in that moment, her spirit remained unyielding. "You won't break me," she said softly yet confidently. "Your power means nothing." These words ignited even greater fury within Adam. He grabbed a heavy metal collar and roughly fastened it around her neck. The collar was cold and weighty. Adam secured the chain, leaving Erica no chance of escape. "You'll live here like a dog," he hissed, a malicious smile creeping across his face. "I'll make you eat from a bowl like an animal, and you'll understand that your freedom is nothing but an illusion." Every day, he brought her food in a metal bowl, just like for a dog. He reveled in her humiliation, hoping that sooner or later her will would be broken. But Erica remained silent. She never begged him, never pleaded for mercy. In her eyes still burned a fire that Adam both hated and feared. Each night, Erica spent in the cold doghouse, barely able to sit, let alone lie down. The walls were coated with rust, and the floor was filthy. The collar dug into her neck, leaving painful abrasions. Every movement brought her discomfort, but Erica refused to cry. She knew that this was exactly what Adam wanted, to see her weak and broken. Yet even in this hell, her spirit remained unyielding. She spent long hours sitting on the cold floor of the doghouse, lost in thought. Her mind revolved around one idea: how to survive and how to escape. Time stretched agonizingly slow, and each new day felt like an eternity. At first it was difficult to hold herself together, especially when Adam came to gloat, his self-satisfied smirk fixed on his face as he watched her. But as more days passed, Erica realized that the only way to defeat him was to refuse to let him break her spirit. One day when Adam returned to the basement, he found her sitting on the floor. Her face was gaunt, the skin around the collar inflamed, but her eyes still sparkled with determination. "You still haven't broken, huh?" he muttered, annoyed. "Why don't you beg for mercy? Why won't you give in?" Erica lifted her head, her voice hoarse yet firm. "Because I never belonged to you. You can cage my body, but you cannot chain my soul." These words sent Adam into a fury. He kicked the doghouse with all his strength, causing it to creak ominously. But Erica didn't flinch. She looked at him with disdain and anger. Adam began to lose his patience. He craved control, complete submission, but with each passing day, it felt as though he was the one losing control. A seed of fear began to take root in his mind, the fear that his power was an illusion, that even here in this doghouse, wearing the collar, Erica remained free. One morning when Adam entered the basement, he found it empty. The collar lay discarded on the floor, and the chain was broken. Erica was gone. Erica had no idea how many days had passed since Adam had imprisoned her in that doghouse. With each new attempt to humiliate her, with every day spent in the filth and cold, her determination only grew stronger. She couldn't afford to feel despair because she knew that would be the end. The only thought that fueled her strength was the idea of escape. One day, quite by chance, Erica discovered that the chain attached to her collar had begun to weaken. Rust and constant tugging had compromised one of the links. Her heart raced. For the first time in a long while, she felt a genuine sense of hope. Every night, she carefully worked to loosen the link, doing everything she could to avoid drawing Adam's attention. Her hands were raw and bleeding, but she refused to give up. On the fourth night, when the house fell into silence, Erica made one final effort. The link gave way, and the chain snapped. The collar still pressed against her neck, but now she was free from the chain. Her heart raced with fear and exhilaration. This was her chance, and she knew there wouldn't be another. She tiptoed to the basement door, the surrounding silence reminding her that she needed to act quickly. She clenched her fists, trying to suppress the trembling in her hands. The door was locked, but Erica had long noticed that the key hung nearby on a hook, too high for her to reach while she was chained. Now, free at last, she stretched for the key. Her heart raced, every sound echoing too loudly in the oppressive stillness. Carefully, she turned the key in the lock, and the door creaked open slowly. Adam's house was like a labyrinth. Erica knew she couldn't just walk out the front door. Guards were stationed everywhere, and all entrances were under surveillance. She navigated through the dark corridors, taking every opportunity to hide around corners or in shadows until she reached one of the second-floor windows. It was unlocked. The warm night air outside offered her the only chance at freedom. Erica opened the window and carefully climbed outside, trying to make no noise. The wind struck her face, reminding her of how long it had been since she had felt fresh air. She landed on the ground, bending her knees to soften the fall. Her legs trembled from weakness, but she knew she had to run before she was noticed. She dashed away from the mansion, not looking back. The night was her ally, concealing her from the guards' eyes. Erica ran with all her strength, pushing through the pain and fatigue. Each step was a jolt of agony in her body, but her will was stronger. She was running toward freedom, toward the life that Adam had tried to take from her. Adam stared at the empty basement, unable to believe his eyes. His rage knew no bounds. He couldn't comprehend how she had escaped. His house was guarded, all the doors were locked, and the chain was firmly attached. How could she have freed herself? But most importantly, her disappearance was yet another blow to his pride. He had been certain that he had her under control, that she wouldn't be able to leave, but Erica had once again proven him wrong. Adam launched a search. His men combed the city, checking every corner, every street, but there was no trace of Erica. She had vanished like a ghost, and it drove him insane. All his influence, money, and power now seemed insignificant in the face of her escape. Weeks went by, but Adam did not give up. Now he was obsessed with the thought of bringing Erica back. Her escape had become a personal affront, a challenge he could not ignore. He knew he wouldn't rest until he found her and brought her to her knees. The search continued, and with each passing day, his hatred for Erica grew. Adam realized that his obsession had crossed all boundaries, but he could no longer stop. Erica had become more than just a woman to him. She had become a symbol of his power, which he could not assert, and he was ready to do anything to reclaim her. Thus began the hunt, a hunt for the woman who had dared to escape from him. Several more weeks passed since her escape, and during all that time, Adam had not stopped searching. He had become restless, almost mad. He could not sleep, could not eat. Meanwhile, Erica was hiding in the village with her cousin, where no one could find her. One evening, Erica decided to return home to her neighborhood. She knew it was a risky step, but she couldn't hide from Adam for the rest of her life. She hoped he had stopped searching for her. For a few days, she lived peacefully, gradually returning to her old life. But one day, she heard the roar of an engine outside. Adam's car was parked near her house. Erica froze in terror. Her legs refused to move, despite her desperate attempts to make herself run. Adam jumped out of the car. His face was contorted with rage, and his eyes burned with madness. He rushed towards Erica, grabbing her by the shoulder in fury. "Did you think you could run away from me?" His voice trembled with anger. "You were wrong. You are mine, Erica. You have always been mine." He dragged her to the car, ignoring her resistance. Erica screamed, but no one came to help. Everyone froze in fear. Adam opened the door of his car with force and literally threw her inside. Inside the car, the air felt heavy, like being trapped in a cage from which there was no escape. Erica, breathing heavily, gazed out the window. She knew another battle awaited her, but now her strength was waning. She was tired of fighting. Erica sat in the back seat of the car, feeling her remaining strength slipping away. Silence enveloped them, broken only by the sound of the engine and Adam's frantic breathing that shattered. He didn't glance at her even once, his focus entirely on the road ahead, but there was something new in his expression. Some internal struggle, something she couldn't comprehend. It was as if he himself didn't know what he would do next. When the car stopped at the edge of the abandoned plot of land, Erica knew it was the end. But to her surprise, Adam didn't pull her out of the car as he had before, but simply got out, slammed the door shut, and started pacing around as if trying to decide something. He stared up at the stars, rubbing his temples, his shoulders shaking with vague emotion. "You broke me, Erica," he whispered, not looking her way. "I don't understand why I no longer feel joy when I see you suffering. Why can't I bring myself to do what once felt so natural? Maybe you're a witch? Have you cast a spell on me?" Erica listened to him, her mind racing. She didn't fully understand what was happening, but she knew one thing. This moment was her chance. She took a deep breath and spoke. "Maybe you're right. Maybe I am a witch. But I didn't break you, Adam. It was your own fears and desires that did this. You don't own me. You never have. You were just trying to control something that can't be controlled." Her words seemed to penetrate his mind. He froze, looking in her direction with a kind of bewilderment, and finally took a step back, as if afraid to touch her. "Shut up," he whispered, but his voice trembled. Erica could see that his mind was unraveling. At that moment, she realized that he was also a prisoner of his own fears and obsessions, and perhaps that was what would save her. Suddenly, Adam got into the car and, without saying a word, stepped on the gas. Erica shrieked in surprise and clung to the seat. The car flew down the road, kicking up dust, and Erica realized that Adam couldn't stop now. He looked like a hunted animal running away from something that was chasing him, but only his own shadow was chasing him. The car came to a sudden stop on the edge of the forest. Adam got out and silently motioned for Erica to follow him. She didn't resist. An unexpected sense of resignation washed over her. He led her through the trees, and gradually the forest thickened until they reached a peculiar spot. In the midst of the trees stood an old cabin, shrouded in dense silence and an eerie atmosphere. It seemed this place had been forgotten by time. "This is where it all began," Adam said, his voice barely above a whisper. Erica looked around the house carefully, trying to figure out what was going on. Adam opened the door and pushed her inside. Inside, everything was covered in dust and cobwebs. The air was heavy, as if it held its own secrets. "This is where I swore I would never let anyone hurt me again," he said as he slowly looked up. "I was young when I was betrayed. I was weak, but I made a promise to myself to become strong and control everything around me. This place is both my nightmare and my strength." Erica finally began to understand. His cruelty, his mania for control, all of it was the result of insecurity born here, in this forgotten place. Her musings were interrupted by a sharp sound, like something creaking in the corner of the house. As soon as she turned round, Adam, as if startled by the sound, turned round abruptly and headed for the exit. He left her alone in the cabin, as if he couldn't stay there any longer. But Erica couldn't leave the place as quickly as he did. Her attention was drawn to a strange chest in the corner, with a faint glow emanating from it. She moved closer, opened it, and inside she found old photographs and letters. Among them were letters addressed to Adam from the woman he had apparently loved. With each line, a dark story unfolded. This woman had betrayed him, making him believe that all people betray sooner or later. But there was something else among the letters. Strange papers with symbols resembling magic signs. At the end of one of the letters, a woman wrote, "I curse you, Adam, for what you have done. You will haunt the shadows, trying to take possession of what does not belong to you, until one day you meet one that truly does not belong to you. And then the curse will end." Erica realized Adam was under the influence of something more than just resentment. He was cursed. When Erica emerged from the cabin with the letters in hand, Adam was waiting for her. He stood at the edge of the woods, his face contorted with fear and pain. "What did you find?" he asked quietly. Erica slowly approached him and held out the letters. Adam took them with trembling hands and began to read. He couldn't believe that his whole life had been subject to an ancient curse, that his desire for control was driven not only by pain, but by dark forces that fed on his hatred and fear. I can't live with it," he muttered. "But how do I stop it?" Erica looked at him, and for the first time, she felt sorry for him. She realized that the only way to break this curse was to free him from the power he was trying to impose on others. "You have to let me go, Adam. You have to let go of your desire to control everything. It's the only way," she said quietly. Adam hesitated. He felt like his world was falling apart, but he knew Erica was right. He walked to the car, opened the door, and gestured for her to get in. She sat down, expecting it to be a ploy, but this time there was no malice in his eyes. The car rolled slowly down the road. Adam drove her back home to her freedom. They didn't exchange a word. As they got closer, his face became more and more detached. When they stopped in front of her house, Adam looked her in the eye for the first time without anger. "You're free to go," he said quietly. Erica got out of the car, and with each step, her heart filled with lightness. Weeks passed, and life gradually began to return to normal. Friends and neighbors who knew about her disappearance did not dare to ask unnecessary questions. Erica devoted herself to recovery, physically and spiritually, shifting away from the memories that clouded her mind. She began working with a local group of women, helping them fight for their rights. Now, her mission was to help those in similar situations, revealing to them the strength she had gained through her ordeal. However, the shadow of the past did not leave Erica. One evening as she walked home down a quiet street, she noticed a figure in the shadows. At first, she thought it was her imagination, but when the figure stepped forward, her heart pounded faster. It was Adam. He looked different, gaunt, with tired eyes that lacked the cruelty of his old ones. He seemed lost, like a man who had lost his purpose in life. "Erica," he said quietly, lowering his eyes. "I came to apologize. I'm not apologizing or asking you to accept me back into your life. I just wanted to tell you that the curse is broken. But with it has gone everything that was the meaning of my life." Erica stood silent, listening to him. She could see that he was suffering, and despite all the pain he had caused her, she could not hate him. Her heart overflowed with sympathy. "Adam," she said calmly, "I forgave you long ago, but you must forgive yourself. Until you do, you will never find peace." His eyes filled with tears. He stood in silence for a long moment, as if considering her words, and then nodded. "Thank you, Erica. I'll be gone. But if you ever want to see me, I'll always be waiting." Many years have passed since then. Erica continued her mission, becoming an important figure in her community, a symbol of resilience and freedom. She inspired women not to be afraid to fight for their freedom. Her every story, every encounter, and every lesson was imbued with the wisdom she had gained through her own suffering. Adam disappeared. People said that he had gone into seclusion, devoting himself to repentance and the search for inner peace. They said he had taken refuge in a remote village, where he helped the sick and cared for the needy in an attempt to atone for his guilt before God. Thus ended their shared history. Erica found a new dawn and Adam a chance at redemption, changing their paths forever, each finding their own freedom. May your life be full of joy and limitless possibilities. Thanks for watching. Be sure to share your opinion and don't forget to write a comment. Subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.